session, I'm going to read you a story, or I'm going to read you a book. And the title of the story is The Fairground Ghost. What is the title of the story?
The Fairground Ghost.
Okay, very good. So the author of this story is Felicity Everett. Who is the author of the story?
Felicity Everett.
Okay, very good. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, for the chapter 1. On Friday, Jake Hubbard saw a poster on his way to school. The fair was in town. That sounds fun, Jake said. That night, Jake was so excited he could hardly sleep. The next day was Saturday. At last, he could go to the fair. But first, he had to find someone to go with him. I think I'll ask Dad, Jake said. Oh, Dad, please, Jake said. Sorry, Jake, I'm busy, Dad said. Dad wasn't even dressed. How could he be busy? Dad shook his paper at Jake. Jake tried his mom. Will you take me to the fair, please? Jake said. Sorry, I can't, Jake, his mom said. There are 70 great attractions, Jake told her. And I've got 70 great piles of washing to iron, he said. Why not ask your sister? Jake made a face. His sister Marcia spent the whole time on the phone, but he had to find someone to go with. He went to ask Marcia. Will you take me to the fair, Marcia? Said Jake. Maybe I'll just call Brad. Brad was Marcia's boyfriend. Jake groaned. She could be on the phone for hours. But it's open now, Jake said. Marcia glared at him. It shuts at 10, Jake added. Shh, said Marcia. Shh, I can't hear Brad. Jake held his breath. He counted to 10. He counted to 10 again. At last, Marcia looked up. Okay, fast, she said. We'll take you. Hooray, Jake said. Jake ran to his piggy bank and shook out the coins. He was going to the fair. Chapter 2. The Ghost Train. Jake, Marcia, and Brad walked into the fairground. Who is Jake with at the fair? Sino gani? Ang upod ni Jake?
Si Marcia.
At si Brad. Sino? Si Marcia at si Brad. Okay, very good. Lights flashed, people laughed. 20 different pop songs blared at once. Marcia and Brad headed straight to the tunnel of love. Yuck, said Jake. That's silly. Jake wanted something scary. In fact, Jake wanted something really scary. Jake found a sign which pointed to 5 attractions. The Ghost Train. It sounded perfect. He soon found the ghost train and climbed aboard. With a lurch, the train began to move into a tunnel. Suddenly, the train was in darkness. Glowing and ghosts, scary skeletons jumped out of the blackness. People shrieked, the ghost moved back. Jake was delighted. He'd wanted a scary ride, and this was very, very scary. He was busy watching a vampire leap from its coffin. He didn't see what was lurking behind him. Jake screamed. He was so scared. His goosebumps had goosebumps. Then the train went around the final bend, and out popped a little ghost. Who is the last ghost that Jake seen at the ghost train?
A little ghost.
Okay, very good. But the little ghost wasn't scary. Why is the little ghost not scary? Na ako no. The little ghost was the funniest thing Jake had ever seen. Ano ko no ang ghost? Funny. Hindi siya ko no scary, kaya ano siya? Funny. Okay, chapter 3. The Scare-O-Meter. Jake was still laughing as they left the train. What's so funny? Asked a man with a clipboard. What could make you laugh at a ghost train? The little ghost. The little ghost, gasped Jake. He hadn't seen the man's badge. He didn't know the man was the ghost inspector. Sino ganito ang may badge? Inspector? The ghost inspector. The man sounded cross. Jake was worried. This ghost must be measured on my scareometer at once. The ghost inspector went to see the owner of the ghost train. Did you know you have a funny ghost on your ghost train? He said. I want to see that ghost now. The owner of the ghost train was surprised, but he couldn't argue with the ghost inspector. So he called for the little ghost. Ghost, are you in there? Get out! Here, now! Jake began to wish he hadn't laughed. The ghost inspector was looking very angry indeed. Wait till I test the ghost on my scareometer, he said. The little ghost appeared. It didn't look so funny now. Out you go, said the owner to the ghost train. You had to be tested. The little ghost was terrified. Jake could hardly bear to watch. What would happen to the little ghost if it failed the test? Kung ma-fail di ang ghost, maano ang ghost? Palayason siya, no? Wala na siya dahil ubra. Chapter 4, Ghost Test. The ghost inspector held up his scareometer. Be as scary as you can, he said to the little ghost. The little ghost took a deep breath and screamed. The arrow on the scareometer quivered. Was the little ghost scary? The inspector checked. Just as I thought, he said. Not scary at all. Get out! The owner of the ghost train shouted at the little ghost. And don't come back. No funny ghost allowed in my train, he added. Why did the owner of the ghost train send the little ghost away? Na ako no. Kay, hindi ko na scary ang ghost. Hindi siya scary. Amo na siya nga ginalaya siya sa owner sa ghost train. Okay, very good. The little ghost started to slowly, sadly away. Jake ran after it. Wait, he shouted. Hey, don't go. He tried to catch hold of the little ghost. Don't be sad, Jake said. When he caught up with the ghost, this is a fun fair. Why not stay and have some fun? Come on, what shall we do first? Jake said. Chapter 5, Fair Scare. Jake decided to take the ghost for a ride. No one could be sad on a merry-go-round. Jake was right. The little ghost wasn't sad. It was scared to death. Jake decided to try the roller coaster instead. The little ghost wasn't sure. Well, it said. Jake dragged it along. It's so exciting. Just wait till you get on. You'll love it, Jake said. Jake was right. At first, the little ghost did love it. This is fun, it said. As it sat down, then the ride started. Jake was thrilled. They curved around corners and looped the loop. He whooped with the line. The little ghost did not whoop. It turned green. Jake waved to everyone in the fairground below. The little ghost couldn't look. For the rest of the ride, it kept its eyes shut tight. Whoopee! Jake said. Stop! I want to get off, the little ghost said. The little ghost left the roller coaster a very sorry spook. Jake thought hard. He had to cheer up his new friend. But how? Just then, he had an idea. I got it! Follow me, Jake said. Jake was so excited. He started to run. The little ghost pulled back. Where are we going? It asked. Promise, it's not scary. I promise, said Jake. Now close your eyes, he added. Are you sure it's not scary? Asked the shivering spook. Not scarier than you are, said Jake. The little ghost wasn't convinced. Where are we? The little ghost whimpered. Nearly there, said Jake. You can open your eyes now. Ah! Screamed the little ghost. As it caught sight of its own reflection, it rushed out of the tent, wailing at the top of its voice. Ah! The eerie howls of the little ghost echoed around the fairground. Nearly everyone was terrified. Jake ran after the little ghost. Come back, he cried. I can't, said the little ghost. That huge scary ghost will catch me. That huge scary ghost was you, Jake said. Scary? Me? The little ghost stopped suddenly. Was Jake right? That scary ghost was me? Really? Are you sure? Me? She said. Jake and the little ghost went to find the owner of the ghost train. Perhaps he would give the little ghost another chance. Won't you take it back now you've heard how scary it is? Jake said. But the owner of the ghost train hadn't even noticed the little ghost terrified the fairground. What did you say? I can't hear a word. Jake pleaded with the man to test the ghost again with a scareometer. The man agreed, although he thought it would be a waste of time. Okay, but it doesn't seem any different to me. Just do what you did when you saw the scary ghost in the mirror, Jake said. Everyone watched as Jake held up to the scareometer. The little ghost took a deep breath, lifted its arm, and screamed. It was a blood-curdling scream. Even Dracula was scared. The ghost inspector had to admit that the little ghost was terrifying. The owner of the ghost train was delighted. Look at that, he said to the ghost inspector. Welcome back, he said to the ghost. You'll be the new star of the show. Everyone was delighted to have the little ghost back. Well, almost everyone. With the little ghost back and scarier than it had ever been, the ghost train became the busiest ride in the fairground. People stood for hours just to see the little ghost. Some people were so scared they came out looking like the zombies inside. Then they straggled around the fairground with their knees knocking before going back for another turn. The little ghost had never been happier or scarier. As for Jake, he got every ride free thanks to his friend, the fairground ghost. The end. Okay, I have some questions. May I ask ako questions, ha? If you are the little ghost, what will you do to scare people?
I will scare them by my scary voice and my costumes.
Okay, scare mo sila sa imo nga scary voice. Examples ng scary voice, babe? Di ba? Amo na siya, no? Mga scary voice. Mga costumes, ya. Ano yung isuksukon ng costume para mahadlok ang mga tao sa inyo? White. Non-white. May dugo-dugo. No? Para mahadlok. For the last question naman, what have you learned in the story?
I have learned in the story that you should never judge someone whom you don't even fully know. And even if you do know them, be careful of your actions and words.
Okay, thank you. Very good.